Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. Let me just fool around with this lighting here. Maybe we need no lighting today. What do you think? Let's do no lighting. The sun is sort of shining. Let's go with that. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It's great to see you. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. I wasn't sure if I would be on this morning because just vacation times, children on vacation, on break from school anyway. And yeah, I got it together. And not only that, but I had such an easy time figuring out what kind of content I was going to do for the show this morning. Because I was in Maine this weekend. I was speaking at the Tin Peddlers Guild. What a lovely group of people. I will tell you all about that. But because I was in Maine this weekend, I did a little bit of antiquing as well, right? There's tons of antiquing along Route 1 in Maine. And yeah, and we did, yeah, more than the children wanted to do, for sure. But, you know, there's video game stuff too, and there's fun vintage and retro stuff. It's not just searching for rugs. I mean, it kind of is. But there's a little other fun stuff. I found so many rugs. It was crazy. As one would expect in the north of New England, right? We know that this is where rug hooking originated in the late 19th century. It makes sense that there would be a lot of rugs up there. There's a lot of rugs up there. Now, the condition of the rugs is a different story. And I want to talk about that too. This is way too much content for one show because I think I saw maybe 60 rugs, something like that. I know that's a lot. First, let me say good morning. Good morning to you, Sharon. Good to see you. And it is sunny. It is sunny in Vancouver. It is a spring day there. I am jealous, but I know that it's coming my way. So I'm very happy that things are changing. Things are shifting a little bit. Judy, great to see you. Good morning. Linda, great to see you in New Jersey. Good morning. Sharon, good morning. Sunny and nice there in Eagle Bridge, New York. Every time I see Eagle Bridge, New York, Sharon, you know what I think about? Those barn quilts. We need to figure out who's in that area and make a day. It's got to be a sunny day of just like having a day out together and doing photography, maybe doing like some hopping in each other's cars and going around taking photos. And yeah, for the fall issue of Magpie Times, right? We're still very focused, Judy and I, of course, on gosh, I've got a lot to do. That just gave me a stomach cramp when I thought of that. I've got a lot to do for the summer issue because the cutoff is, it's only the 14th. It's only April 14th. I'm working on the summer issue of Magpie, and I bet you are too. And I know you're working on your Wish You Were Here rug exchange, little rugs for each other. And many of you are sending me photos because you've already finished tons of time. And I will put those into an article for Magpie Times as well. We've got so many irons in the fire. It's crazy. Barbara, good to see you. The trip went well. Yeah, there were at least 60. I'm sorry, the green screen is playing with my green. Sorry about that. I'll do that. The amount of rugs was crazy. The condition is a different story, and I want to get into that as we look at rugs because finding rugs is one thing, and I know it's like we are all beggars sitting on sacks of gold in this part of the country as far as rugs are concerned because the rugs are everywhere. And I know for other people in other places you just don't see hooked rugs, so I should not be complaining, right? But at the same time, because there are so many rugs, it becomes a question of what do we do with all of these rugs? Because they're not all desirable the way that they are, and they are there for sale. What do we do? I've got a ton of them. And Patreon members, if you're thinking, oh, you said you were going to put up some rugs and some ribbon candy hooking stuff, I am. I haven't forgotten. It's just I have to do my ducks in a row or something gives. But yeah, the question is, what do you do with so many rugs, at least for us here? And I want to talk about that on the show. Ruth, great to see you in New Jersey. Great to see you. Linda B says, our daffodils and pansies survived the surprise snowfall. Well, I didn't even think of that. But of course, that's scary because they were already up, right? Red, you were surprised by the snow in Maine too. I was surprised. You know, I don't ever think it's like impossible in the spring, but yeah, I wasn't planning on it. In fact, Sharon says, just finishing my second rose rug. I've still got to finish like 4 or 5 of them. I'm well into all, but I need to finish them. Do you see I have my Persian wool over my shoulder here? That's one of my great finds from a past, that was last year at an antique store. I forget what town in New York State, but I found that it's 3 hangers together with the Persian wool. And you know when you find that needlepoint Persian wool, that it's like moth proof because that's how they packaged it for kits, right? So you know that if you're going to hook with that or punch with that, you might need to double it up or treble it up or even more. But you know it's going to be a good sort of archival supply because it's not going to attract moths and it doesn't need to be washed. In fact, if you did, you might wash off whatever it's been soaked in that makes it moth proof. But anyway, I love finding this stuff. I always look for it even in small needlepoint packages in thrift stores because I think, well, if I like those colors and it's like a couple dollars, maybe I should just add it to my stash over here, you know. Anyway, yeah, I was surprised at the snow in Maine. I was surprised the morning I woke up. We ended up going up on Friday, and they scared me so much at the school with like, they always send these texts. Like, I think they're routine. I don't think they're just to us because the kids have not had an extraordinary amount of days out of school, right? They're not like playing hooky, but they have been sick a lot. Right. And they don't get sick sitting in the living room. Right. They get sick going to school and being around other kids who are like, and what it is, you know, but then they're sick. And then then I don't want to hear about how many days they were sick because when I send them back to school at the end of being sick, they're usually still like looking pretty sick, but they're giving us a hard time, you know. So I ended up doing a full school day for them on Friday and I wanted to leave early. So we had one more day in Maine. It wasn't that long, you know. Especially for me with teaching on Saturday, I wanted like a little more time. But in the end, it was super bad weather this weekend. It snowed on Saturday. It rained like 100% of the time, the rest of the time, with no exceptions. Not 5 minutes of it not raining. I had my hood up every time I got out of the car. So in that regard, we were not lucky. But at the same time, making lots of lemonade because I love Maine in any season and in any weather. I love Maine. I just love the word Maine. It makes me just feel like I'm falling backwards into time and flower gardens and sea views and old forests, and it's just vacation land, right? That's what it's called. That's what it is. So we got over there on Friday and had dinner on the way in York, and that was a super lot of fun. It was just perfect. And then I woke up on Saturday. Everyone else was, unconscious in the hotel room. And I woke up and started getting going to get over to the Guild in, I think it was Salisbury. And I opened the blackout curtains in the hotel room. I hate blackout curtains because I feel like it's 4 a.m. and you open it and it's like daytime and then you panic. But I had set the alarm. So I opened the blackout curtains and it was like full blast snowstorm outside. And I thought, you have got to be kidding me. Firstly, because I have a small car and I'm scared to drive in the snow. But secondly, because I thought, oh man, who's going to come? Like I drove all this way and I've got this presentation that I made just for this group on designing a spring composition for rug hooking, like, coming up with a spring motif. And I had just done it this week, like just gotten it ready for this group. And and I thought, well, no one's going to come. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, it's Maine. So probably if anyone's going to come out on a really snowy morning where it's accumulating and it looks like a blizzard, it's going to be Mainers, isn't it? Because they're very used to the weather. And sure enough, I got there, no problem. That's the lemonade part, right? Didn't get in a car accident, just made it there. And there was a ton of people there. I mean, the place was filled. So thank you to the Tin Peddlers Guild. You are hardy people, and some people traveled. Some of my buddies traveled, like from New Hampshire and from other guilds that were an hour or more away in the snow. I really appreciate the loyalty and the friendship, and I love going out to these guilds and meeting new friends. And I love going out to the guilds and being surprised by which friends I've met at other guilds in other times and other years. I love seeing who's there. It's just fun to reconnect because I love this. I love being together here because this works and this is a solution to how we can spend time together and talk about rugs and get better and become more knowledgeable and become inspired. But I really love talking to people in person. So it's nice to go out to these guilds and see a really big showing and just have some quality time together, Let me see. Let me catch up. Judy says, the moth-proofing chemicals are actually pretty toxic. Good for use in crafts, perhaps, but not clothing. Wash hands after working with it. Oh, I didn't know that. That's what's going on here. I've been touching moth-proof stuff. Thank you, Judy. I'll be more careful next time. I do wash my hands a ton. It's like a compulsive thing, but it's good to shout out there to everybody, because if you don't think of it and it's like toxic, that's kind of scary. Everything from that era, wool-wise, is moth-proof, including lots of clothing, right? You see that on clothing, the tag of like vintage sweaters, it says moth-proof. That would be something to think about too, you know. Judy, thank you. Karen, great to see you. Happy Monday to you from cool and overcast Black Forest, Colorado. Same thing here. It is overcast, and but it's not raining, you know, so many days of rain in a row. It was wonderful going up to Maine and visiting with this guild. They meet in a church basement, and it's so charming. Like, the atmosphere was just so charming. Let me see if I took a picture. I took lots of pictures for you, and that's what we're doing today on the show. We're never going to get to all of them. Shoot. I thought I put a picture in. I struggled this morning hugely with computer problems. Big surprise, right? In fact, I struggled when I got to Maine with PowerPoint. My PowerPoint wouldn't open. I was having problems like logging on with my computer. This is just not stuff for me. Like this, I am not the person who is going to solve. I shut down so completely when computer stress happens that I am useless. And Catherine, great to see you. And I had to give a huge shout out at the beginning of the program to Emily, who was at the Guild, and she's a younger person, and she fixed the thing with the computer twice because I could not open it. I could not find it. I looked under the date that I created it. It was not there. I mean, talk about change your underpants, right? Like, I'm there. I've driven up to Maine. The computer thing is not opening. And it was just one of those things, you know. Here, this is the room I'll show you that I was in. It was super, super cheery. But, you know, I said to Emily, so, like, what did you do that made it work? There I am way over on the side. It was super fun. And there were tables on the other side, too. It was super fun. Lots of buddies there. And she was like, I'm not really sure. And that's the thing about technology is you fool around, and if you're in a panic, I think the odds of succeeding at what you're trying to do go down significantly. But Emily was like, cool as a cucumber, right? Cool as a cuke. And she just came over and fooled with it for so long, and then the presentation showed up on the screen. I managed to plug the computer into the TV screen, which in itself, like, come on, that was really something for me. So it all worked. But if it happened again, if Emily wasn't there, there's got to be another Emily, right? Is this your life too? I mean, everything is difficult. It happened this morning. I could not get into my photos that I had sent on Facebook, which is where I send them in a chat, and then I load them onto this program because they're the right size. Wasn't working. Who knows why? Who knows why? Oh, I'm telling you. But it did work in the end, and it was wonderful. And I left all of them there, but I had made up these little sketchbooks for each person at the Guild. I found some vintage construction paper in the closet that I guess I put there for Jossie, but she doesn't really touch it. And it had like a bit of a patina, like not a real patina, but it was a bit faded, and it looked like it was from like the 70s. It was a big pack of all these weird colors, like weird caramel brown, weird dusty rose, weird lilac purple, you know, weird colors, not like primary colors. And I made these little books for everybody that like had a front and back cover with like 15 printer pages in the middle, and I trimmed everything on my paper cutter, and I stapled them with my industrial stapler, and on the front there was an image that I'm going to start using for ribbon candy hooking shirts that was like a butterfly with crazy wings that had ribbon candy in them, and the body of the butterfly was a rug hook, and it said Tin Peddlers Spring Sketchbook. They were so pretty. I wish I would have taken a picture of the sketchbooks. They were really pretty. So I had a big pile of those. We had lots left over. And everybody opened up their sketchbooks. And I had a presentation about what kinds of motifs do we think about in this spring. Let's draw this thing that you're seeing up here. It's a bunny, it's a basket, it's a whatever. I had a bunch of different motifs, little cottages. And we talked about backgrounds and borders and color and what makes folk art, what defines folk art. So it was a great composition class, I think. and a few people showed me their sketchbooks after, and man, honestly, I'm not bragging, right? Because I can't take responsibility for other people's drawings, but like every page I saw was like amazing, great composition. It was absolutely fantastic. Cheryl, good to see you on Cape Cod. It was so much fun. And I'm thinking I might sort of modify it a little bit and run it as a free program in the next maybe 2 weeks from now through Tigger for Tigger members. I might do that, come on with a live show, because we're all trying to, the 5 Tigger board members are trying to kick in with content that is in keeping with our own brands, like in our own wheelhouses, but unique stuff that we could share, content we could share that would be fun for Tigger members. So I'll probably do a slightly different version of it, not quite as long. Yeah, and maybe do that in a couple of weeks with Tigger if you're already a Tigger member. But anyway, it was a great class. It really was a great class. And even though the class went really, really well, right? And I felt everybody did so well. I was so excited that the sketches were so good, and I got lots of good feedback, which I appreciated, and lots of friendly people. But when I left, because of the way that the thing started with not being able to get the computer going, I still had that, like I was still carrying this incredible amount of stress. And as soon as I left, I was like, oh my God, I could either go to a bar and do some shots, which wasn't a good idea driving in the snow, or make some stops before I got back to the hotel room with the family and like that level of interaction. And I happened to pass this antique store. So I thought, well, that's the very thing, right? It doesn't involve me getting into trouble. And I might find a rug. And I did. I ended up not buying any of these. But let me show you what I found, because I think they were interesting. This rug was there. I think this rug was $175. So for me, that was a lot for this rug. Now, as far as what's going, I love this rug. I think it's absolutely adorable. It's I wish I could remember the name of the store, but it's in Salisbury, Maine, and there can't be many. But it was in like a little plaza. It's a super cute rug. Initially, I thought it might be a commercial pattern. I still think I'm 50-50 on the fence with this. The thing in my mind that makes me think it might not be a commercial pattern is the fact that the composition's not good, which isn't always a telltale thing, right? Like the composition being not good makes it charming, and I feel gives it value, right? Because it is a sweet rug. It has a ton of charm. It feels nostalgic. It almost looks like it's very naive, right? It's folky and naive, but it is 20th century for sure. We're not talking about folk art with a capital F and a capital A. We're talking about 20th century, a piece of naive work that maybe in 50 years we will celebrate as high folk art. But folk art collectors are not looking for this 20th century rug, right? It doesn't have enough of the tropes that that folk art really must have. But it is absolutely precious. I love the handling of the sky, right? The breakdown of the sky it's like fractured, right? Soft cubism happening in the sky. The little puffy clouds are adorable. I love the handling of the grass with the swirls and things happening. The placement of the bushes and the fact that the design is literally cut in half, and there's not much going on the top, makes this composition very bottom heavy and a little bit hard to read, which makes me think it's not a commercial pattern. My guess would be, my knee-jerk reaction would be that this pattern was drawn from pictures of cats, like in books or on postcards, and maybe maybe these are 2 cats that belong to the maker, and this is probably their yard with the little well out back. That makes the most sense to me in terms of like the most likely scenario with this one. The second scenario is that it is a commercial pattern, but not all the elements have been hooked, or that it's been modified and customized to fit this family or this household and their pets. So it could be either of those things, but the fact that the cat looking at us looks very good. It's like illustration good. The other cat is out of perspective, which makes me think they were traced, right? Because they're not the same size. It seems like they were traced from a source directly. The second one is adorable, but the second one has way more of a Victorian look, like he's wearing a bow. and he's a different scale, which makes me think, taken from something else. It could be that the second cat was added. It's hard to know, but with a commercial pattern, I would expect the actual drawing, the actual lines, to be a little bit better in terms of like just basic art composition. But at the same time, if this is not a commercial pattern, and again, I don't recognize it as one, and if you do, please let me know. I love to find out what, I love to fill in the gaps in my brain with rugs that I really don't know. It's a charming design one way or the other. The question is the 175. I mean, at this moment in time, at this moment in 2025, I'm thinking about money more than I have recently, for sure. And yeah, I would expect to find this rug more like 95, to be honest. Maybe 125 is more appealing. 175, we're kind of getting up there. It is charming. There's no color loss, really. I mean, there's hardly any color loss. It's a super whimsical design. It's not really strong in terms of like the contrast. I love seeing the gray in the cats, and the rainbow ball for me is the showstopper. Like that is the showstopper. All the different colors of green in the grass, that's very appealing as well. And the fact that it does have the quality of a child's drawing with all of these squiggle lines, there's a lot of attention to detail here. There's a lot added in a very graphic manner. It's a really charming piece. But for me, it's not quite old enough to be closer to the 200 mark. And for me, it is a little bit specific, just a little bit. A rug with cats, sometimes I think, well, that's cute. I can relate to cats. I have a tuxedo cat. I've had many cats. So sometimes it reminds me of like a past cat. Weirdly, I've never had gray cats. So for me, in terms of relating to this rug, that's kind of out. I love the colors of that rug, so that strikes me the right way. But the well is very specific too. Karen says, reminds me of a coloring book. Absolutely. It could be copied from a coloring book. Absolutely it could. And just some stuff added. It's a super cute piece. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I thought about it after I walked away from it, after I drove away from it, but it was just a bit more money than I wanted to spend on top of just the expense of traveling. But it is charming, right? It is charming. This was in the same shop. It's a little footstool. This, I would say, is maybe a little bit older. I would put this between 1900 and 1920 something. Very simple Art Deco design. It has a little bit of wear, but doesn't have much, which is surprising because footstools usually get it, right? People put their boots on there, in between when taking a break and sitting down and getting back up, and they often have holes in them from the wear and tear. Just the side of a boot is enough to, in the same place over the course of decades is enough to rip a footstool. So this footstool is in really good shape. This definitely seems like an original pattern. Somebody did something with the sweet floral. There's hardly any fading here. So that's nice. I forget how much this was. I feel like it was close to 100. Yeah, I feel like it was right about there. I remember looking at the tag and feeling like I was not tempted. But color-wise, I think it's really charming, very sweet again. If I had unlimited funds and I didn't have a cat and dog who were in my space all the time, I would be tempted to get everything, and just cobble together a room or a house that is just filled with colorful hookings of every kind. And that would be an amazing house. But at this moment, if I were to buy something like this, the dog would be on it a lot and the cat would be scratching on it. So unless it's really spectacular, I don't think about footstools that often myself because I think about where am I going to put them and how am I going to display them. This one was in good enough shape to keep using, I think. But for me, the price tag was like just a little bit too high. This is the same store again. Sorry about that. And this I posted in our Facebook group, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. This is that Shetty Comp design that we've talked about and looked at many times on Coffee Time. And I stupidly assumed that this was a big rug. I've never seen it in person, so I've never seen this detailed a photo of it. I assumed that this was like a welcome mat sized rug. This rug was like this big. I mean, it was really small. And when I posted in the Facebook group, somebody very smartly wisely said, well, it was a souvenir. Like they would make small mats because they wanted to sell them and then get on to the next one and get money for another one. So that makes a lot of sense because this is Shedicomp and you can see how tiny these little yarn stitches are. This is done with that tiny Shedicomp hook and you can see how tiny each stitch is. It is done very geometrically like needlepoint fills, right? So Shedicomp really bridges the gap between the needle arts and rug hooking because you are pulling up with a hook, not a needle, but you are using very fine weight yarns, more similar to needlepoint yarn than rug hooking yarn, or rug hooking anything. And you're doing it very geometrically, which is more the technique of a needle artist, right? To fill by directionally rather than by form fill, you know what I mean? So I was really interested in finding this. This again was, I think, like one something, maybe, I feel like it was 150-ish. Maybe it was a little bit less, but again, it was like super cute. I love to find Shedicomp stuff, but subject-wise, it's not like one of the most appealing designs for me. It was just exciting to find this design. I love the amount of silhouette that appears on this piece. Really, really charming. And the amount of color, right? All the different colors that the men are wearing. This is a composition that works well with multiples, right? 3 men, 3 birds. We've got 1 dog, but the play is really in the number of men who are looking at the same view. It's basically a sunbonnet Sue, but the male version, I forget what he's called. Sam, I think it's Sam. It's kind of, it feels like that to me. It always feels very Western to me, this piece, which is ironic since it's a Canadian composition. It feels very Western. Super, super sweet. It was a lot of fun to find this. It was a great little mat sitting on a table. It was sitting on another rug that was really covered up, that had been on the floor, that I couldn't get a good picture of. You can just see part of it on the left over there. But this was really colorful, in great shape. Of course, this is way too small to be used for a rug, so this was always used as a decoration. And Karen says a friend found one of the Shedicomp designs out here in Colorado in an antique store up in the mountains. They made their way everywhere, didn't they? They made their way absolutely everywhere. But it is certainly more rare out west, right? And up in the mountains, it's certainly more rare. In Maine, you would expect it, right? People in northern New England traveling to Canada, you would expect it, but definitely more unexpected in more remote parts of the country and just distant parts of the country. I thought this was a great find. I had a little cheerful laugh when I saw it because I thought, oh, I can't wait to show that and share that. So this is, I think okay, so let me just refill you on the day. Not that you need to know all the ins and outs of my life, not that it's that exciting, but it was a great day. I saw that little antique store and then I went and picked up the family and we drove into Portland and it was pouring rain. But at least the snow had changed to rain, right? It's like that song. What's that Christmas song? The snow had turned to rain. You know the Christmas song they play about the guy who meets his old lover at the grocery store? It was like that. By the time we got to Portland, the snow had turned to rain, indeed, and it was super wet and miserable conditions, but it was fun to walk around. I went to the Longfellow House, which is the historical society and museum of Portland. It's Longfellow's actual house, and I should have taken a tour. I didn't know how long the family was going to take shopping, and I didn't want to be like missing an action if it was a guided tour and they like had me in there and everyone is standing outside in the rain. I've done it before, like years ago. Wish I would have done it again. But I found some sweet history books at the Longfellow House there because there's a little shop, which was really nice, like haunted stories of Portland. And I bought a book called Salt and Roses, and it was a memoir of someone who had grown up in Maine from like maybe the 1930s to 1970s or 80s, kind of that timeline, and all about her life. So I haven't started it yet, but it looked beautiful. And incredibly, one of the best things, one of the best instances of serendipity that's ever happened to me personally. We were walking around, we went to all of these shops. I went to the yarn shop, we went to a bookstore. Everything was lots of fun, very wet and very fun. The kids were finding some treasures. It was great. They love Portland because it has that city vibe, but it's all cobblestone streets and it's got a lot of charm. It's got a lot of problems, but it's got a lot of charm. Just realized the LL Bean store isn't there anymore. Just realized that, 'cause picturing myself walking along, and I definitely would have gone in there. It definitely was not there. Anyway, we were walking around and we kept seeing people wearing masks, and these like full head masks of animals. You know how my daughter Jocelyn loves to make masks and stuff. It's like this subculture. Um, Super creative, right? She's just little. She's just 11. And we looked it up and found out that there was a convention of these like fur people, furries, at in Portland, like right 2 streets over from where we were walking. We figured this out when we stopped for lunch. We went to $3 Dewey's, if you've ever been there. So fun. Great kind of tavern place. That was the best burger I've had in forever, I think, with the proper bacon, the maple bacon, and anyway. Um, we figured out this convention was there. So she and her dad, Teddy's not into it. She and her dad went over there until like 8 or even 8:30, and she had like I think the best time of her life. Being it, she happened to be wearing a mask and a tail right on her clothes in the rain, and talk about good luck, right? So they were just went to the hotel that was like 1 street over. They were there for hours. I took Teddy shopping to some other places to look for games, and then he needs to crash out. And man, did they have fun! I guess at 8, even though it was raining, everybody went out in the parking lot and howled at the moon. Now, I don't know if this is your thing or how this sounds to you. My knee jerk reaction is, that's crazy. But then my follow through reaction is, God, that was probably really fun, right? I always have so much pent up, negative, crazy energy. It sounds kind of good to howl at the moon when there's a lot of other people howling at the moon too. At least no one looks at you, right? Maybe if you don't howl loud enough. But it sounds like it was a lot of fun, and I'm so happy that she got to do that. It really was a highlight. Doris, great to see you. You are logging on in the Missouri Ozarks. Great to see you. So we'll be here today, and I'll be here again with you on Friday. In the middle of the week, I'll probably take off because it's the school vacation week. But if that changes, I'll let you know. If I have to take like a trip to Newport or something like that, and I plan to go live, I will definitely let you know. So the following day, we were driving home already, and we stopped at a lot of antique stores along Route 1, starting in, um, gosh, I forget what the first town is. If Salisbury is on Route 1, then we started in Salisbury because I passed the first antique store again, the one that had the Shetty Comp rug and the cats with the ball and the footstool. So we started pretty far up on Route 1, and we found stores. We found, I think one is called Antiques Inc. something. There were two big ones in one town that might have been Wells. I'm not sure. But if you look at the map, you'll see where the clusters of the antique stores are. And man, they all have rugs. They all have lots of rugs. Now, most of the rugs by far are commercial patterns. And it's up to you whether you feel like I need more of that in my life. I need more commercial patterns. Some of them are really charming. You know, I had just been talking about spring designs and designs that include a vessel, like a basket or a vase or something like that. Well, here's one in the Art Deco style. I would wager that this is like an Aunt Lydia design, like that kind of era, 20s, 30s. Forced cheerfulness, right? Bright colors. I'm sure the colors wouldn't have been a kit, but the colors would have been suggested so that you also use Aunt Lydia's yarn and not just her burlap pattern. This could have been done with a hook, or it could have been done with a shuttle punch. Beautiful piece, not backed. This is a hand-done piece. This is a nice welcome piece. Was not super dirty. Had a great deco feel because look at the breakdown of the colors, right? The two colored flowers. That's super deco. Very flat, but more specifically and more telling, look at the leaves split in half. That is deco, period. When you see that, you get that from the late 20s to the early 40s. That's it, right? And then shapes and the idea of graphic arts and the way you handle natural forms really changes. So this is super deco, head-on deco. So if you collect deco stuff, you would see this rug and say, gosh, this is pretty. This was probably between $20 and $30, right? The rugs that I found on this day were very inexpensive. And it's because, you know, they were used and they were dirty, right? So let's talk about that more in a second, but I realized I forgot to show you something from, excuse the sweatpants, from the Portland day. I went into one antique store in Portland. It was an antique and vintage store, and I found this rug. And it's funny because one of the buddies from the Guild, when I said, sorry, my belly button's in that, said, you know, did you go shopping and antiquing and stuff? And I said, yeah. And she said, did you see this rug of bobolink, right? Which is kind of bird that I've never heard of, bobolink. And I said, see it? I bought it, right? I love. Here, let me come. No, I can't. Sorry. There's a huge bench in my way where I sit. But how cute is this? It has a little bit of green in it that the green screen I can never shut off is killing. But it looks like a woodcut. If you recognize this image, let me know, because I didn't recognize it. And I don't recognize it as a pattern. But I loved bobolink. I don't see the tag on it anymore. I think it was like maybe, gosh, probably 90. I think it was $90. But let me show you a little bit closer up. I want to be careful because I want to mount it. It's on burlap, right? And this is the way the edges are done. You see the stitches holding it down. It's done with really, I'll show you close up, but it's done with really wide strips of mostly cotton. I think this is all cotton. Let me bring you in close. Here, let me find an exciting piece and let's see if we can focus. You can see it's worn. So this looks like ripped up clothing for sure. And at the bottom, you know, it says bobolink, which I was told was a bird. And then I looked it up when we stopped at Dewey's for lunch, and it is a bird. When I turned it over, I was like, okay, it does say bobolink, because I thought maybe it says someone's name. I think there's one stitch that is lost here that I can easily pull back through. I probably will pull it back through, and then I'm going to mount it. And because, you know, there's not a lot of color loss in this piece. It's a tiny bit, but there's not a lot. And it feels a little bit Japanese to me because it's like such a severe woodcut design. I absolutely love it. I wish I could show you a little bit better. There's like some, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah. See if it'll, there we go. You see what I mean? It's all like found fabrics. Isn't that pretty? I just loved it. I had to have it. And I thought, what a nice souvenir, you know. Sorry, coming back. What a nice souvenir. So I want to pause to have this conversation with you. Let's talk about something very serious right now. I want to show you some more of the rugs I found. Now, this one is in pretty good shape, right? It's definitely been used. I want to display it. There's a lot of rugs that I find that are not necessarily the half moon, although, hey, if you love that one, why not? There's a lot of rugs that I find that have definitely been on the floor, that are fairly dirty, and I still think are beautiful, and I would like to save them. What can we do? What can we do? Yes, I'm roping you into this too. What can we do with rugs that we find that are not 4-star rugs, right? They're not folk art. They're probably not going to be folk art. But we love them, or we honor them, and we want to save them. What do we do with those rugs? I've been thinking about this a lot because I have a lot of rugs. I think the only thing we can do with these rugs is I'm going to have to put together a really long video. I think if you have it in you, the answer is mount them onto a frame. I think that's the only answer, because even if you take a rug that's quite dirty, but you love it, like it speaks to your heart, if you can get that rug mounted, like, hold on, let me show you this thing. I'm going to grab something over here. If you hear a big bang, it's just me. It's just me getting hurt. Okay, so I have this one here that I bought at an antique store. Right? And this was like, I don't know, I think I paid like $100 for this. And why would I buy this? I don't know. I was having the best day ever. We just had a really nice meal. It was sunny. We were in New York State. Everything was fun. Everything was fun and funny this day. It was a great souvenir. I looked at it. I felt cheerful, you know. And on the back, the burlap is literally just, whoa, wrapped around the frame, right? It's just stapled onto a frame. Where do you get a frame like this? Well, that's the question. This is just like 1.5 inches, right? It's not even like 2 inches. And it doesn't even need this wiring, right? You can just hang it up like this. But this is just a piece of wood with fabric wrapped around it and this stapled onto it. And the rug is just like stitched onto the piece in front of it. Or something. I'm not really sure. It could be that the rug is stapled or nailed. I don't see stitches on the back, right? There's more than one way to skin a cat here. There's lots of ways to get a rug onto a frame. But my point is that, wait a minute, let me put this away safely. My point is there's so many rugs that are out there that are pretty enough that they aren't going to sell, right? People are, every day it snows or rains and people come through and walk on these rugs. They're just getting worse, right? And some of these rugs are like $18, $25. Tons of the ones I saw in Maine are that kind of price. The only thing that one could do with them, I think, is to make them as clean as possible, right? Some of them are so damaged, we're kind of beyond that. Unless you're interested in the restoration angle, then this ain't going to work. But if it's just kind of roughed up around the edges, or it has some problems that make it vulnerable, but it's not so damaged that it doesn't look pretty anymore, those rugs need to be mounted and just put up on the wall, and that would multiply their value. And it would also save them. So I want to come back to this conversation because I feel it's fairly urgent, and this might be something for Magpie Times too. I mean, not this issue, but the next issue. I think it's fairly urgent that we get some of these rugs off the floor. And we are coming into, flea market season, yard sale season, off the grass, off the wet grass at 4 a.m, right? We need to get them off the grass. So this is something I want to keep talking about because there are a lot of rugs that are out there. Here's another one that this doesn't speak to me, but it is very pretty. And you have to admit, if this were mounted, it would be way more appealing because then maybe you could say, well, it's actually a piece of wall art now, right? I'm going to put it up on the wall and I'm going to put like my vases of flowers in front of it. My God, wouldn't that be a gorgeous vignette? Maybe one vase of flowers in the middle of this rug. This rug was probably, again, $15, $18. I can't keep buying all these rugs. I have to get rid of some of the rugs in my basement because I can't. I'm like certifiably crazy at this point with hundreds of rugs. I can't keep buying new ones. Okay, I bought 3 this weekend, but you know what I mean. I can't buy. Sorry, I can't buy all of them. This is a really pretty one. I couldn't tell whose it was. I kind of regret not getting it. I think this one was $45. It had some stains. It's not a Claire Murray, if that's what you're thinking. At least I don't recognize it as a Claire Murray. I kind of wish I bought it. I mean, it's so cute and charming. The thing is, I don't know that I would put it on the wall. It's so 80s, 90s, isn't it? But again, if this one could still be used, I think. Oh, you know what? It does say CM. Does it say CM on the bottom? Maybe it is a Claire Murray. Damn it, I should have bought it. Because I love Claire Murray. Yeah, it is a Claire Murray. What an idiot I am, huh? What an idiot. I mean, it wasn't I should have known it was a Claire Murray because it was hooked with yarn. What a ding-dong. I just don't know this design. And you know what else that means? It's rare. It's a rare Claire Murray. Claire Murray's, rare ones can be worth a fortune. I'm not in the market of flipping at all right now. I just can't. But I do wish I had bought that. Isn't that weird? I mean, it's not my style, but the fact that it's a Claire Murray and I found it in Maine, damn it. Let's move on. It's gonna hurt my heart if I keep looking at it. But it was a great find. I passed on it. It was folded on a coat hanger, and you see it put creases in it. And so I hid the coat hanger, I rolled it up, and I put it on a surface where it was rolled up because I thought, let's not propagate this insanity and keep damaging this rug this way. But yeah, I think this one was $45. It was, yeah, I know, Karen, it's good, isn't it? Yeah, mixed feelings. See, when I do this with you all, this is dangerous. Same store, at one of these big antique centers. This was a runner that was done directly on burlap, and you can see that the background was not filled in. I'm going to show you some bits of it closer up. It has tassels on the edge. It was finished with hooking, not with whipping. I'll show you the edges. Super charming. Help me out here. What does this refer to? Does anybody know? Because I'm thinking it has a specific religious reference. It's definitely not my church because I'm not understanding the references. So it says on the bottom, Holy Mother Wisdom, and then it says Ship of Safety, Golden Chariot, Fruit Trees. Like what? Like what does this mean? What is this a reference to? Does anybody know? Are we talking about a specific story or something? Because it just said hooked rug sampler runner. And this I think was 78. And again, if I had unlimited funds, I would just buy everything. Super cute piece, right? Absolutely adorable. Let's look at some of it closer up. Look at the little hit or miss fill behind Holy Mother Wisdom. I mean, and you can see the rows of hooking, right, in like color changing or maybe swatch pieces, or I think these are dip dyed pieces that are doing the borders. I think the fill was adorable behind the text, and I love the colors of the boat. Unexpected, right? Like all yellows. It gave me the sense of like maybe this is a bit of a hit or miss situation. The person didn't have like a lot of nautical whatever colors, but they had a lot of yellows and maybe a lot of swatch sets. It is so charming, and obviously it's an original piece. I was really taken with it. They definitely didn't have red, right? Because the flag is missing red. I was very taken with it. I just didn't understand the reference, and the reference is overt, right? There's text all over this thing, and I felt like it's hard to fall in love with it because I don't really understand what the message of it is, and it's a text piece, so I'd like to understand the message. But you can see it's hooked with number 3 or maybe even number 2, and super cute text, original text. Somebody hand wrote this and then just hooked their own letters. Super sweet. Very sort of lush fill. It's dense, but it's not buckly. It's just a very fine cut. Really cute motifs that look like they're taken from Jacobean crewel work or maybe illustrations from books. This is the tree. The trees are like bookends, right? They match each other, and they have 2 little bluebirds on the top of each tree. This one has like the dove, which maybe is peace as well. He seems to have an emblem on his chest. Oh, Karen says Golden Chariot refers to the divine vehicle of the Holy Mother, according to Google. Okay, interesting. I wonder if, let me see if there's one more. No, not yet. Wait a minute. Let's come back over here. I wonder if this is like, there are some churches that they're sort of devoted to. The theme is specifically like Mary. Sorry, just making sure that's centered. Maybe it's one of those churches. I don't know. I mean, it's so sweet. I kind of wish I got this now too. It's a big piece, right? And I was thinking, where am I going to put it? I'd be really tempted if I did get this piece. And I know this is maybe like sacrilege, but I'd be really tempted to fill in the background a little bit with like, I don't know, a little bit of movement or shapes or something that wasn't distracting, but I'd be really tempted to do something in the background. It's just a lot. It's a huge field, right, of background, but really charming piece. I think it's just precious because it's original. I love the way it's hooked. I love all these pastoral images. Super cute. And thanks for that, Karen. Yeah, it's got to refer specifically to a specific church. Maybe it was something on an altar or on a banquet thing, when people come down for coffee. I don't know, but it was super charming. Same store had this piece, and this piece looks great from a distance, but it was quite worn. The rose, let me just show you quick, was Waldoboro. Like a little bit. It was stepped on millions of times, so it was crunched down. Fruit trees represent temptation and good and evil. Oh, great, Karen. So, yeah, so it's definitely something from a church, that last piece, right? So this, you can see the Waldoboro is kind of domed, like it did have some height. It was just that central flower. I was in a stall. It was rolled up in the bottom of this stall. It was like a corner stall. I was really hemmed in here. Hard to get a picture, but it was really pretty. This is a commercial pattern for sure. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This was probably 40, maybe 45. Again, really pretty, but until we have a foolproof and super easy way to get these rugs on boards, and just get them hanging. This is another piece that would be wonderful hanging. I mean, really, right? Isn't it's very mellow. It's very pretty. It would match any room. It's got charm. I'm holding it vertically, but it would go horizontally. I think with the stem over on the right, so the rose was correct. But I mean, another beautiful piece, right? Another absolutely beautiful piece. And I'm seeing lots of that. And these rugs are all over the place. This is another one I have mixed feelings. I didn't get. This one was like 35. It was super thin. It had patches that were missing. It was more than dirty. Like, it was more than dirty. And in my mind, when I saw it, I went, oh my God, the colors. Let me show you the close-up of the colors, because there's a little bit too much light coming in there. But if you're wondering, are the colors really glowing? Yes, the colors are really glowing. Like, they're beautiful, these colors. They're absolutely beautiful. Do you see? It's really dirty. And if you're thinking like, well, you just shake it out. Yes, you just shake it out. But when I picked it up, it was also damp. Like, it was damp, and it's sitting on a cement floor. It's damp, it's super dirty, and it's sitting on a cement floor. Nope, not yet. Sorry. Wait a minute. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Not yet. Sorry. And so my issue was, I said to myself, stop buying rugs that are dirty, because you're not going to want to put them on the wall. And you're not going to put them on the floor. This one had damage already. But man, I thought about this rug a lot. And it was hard for me in my mind to know whether I was falling in love with this rug because it was right next to this very Maine-esque nautical painting. And I thought, oh, I was just envisioning myself having like a second house, like a tiny cottage in Maine, and filling it with things like bad paintings of boats and old hooked rugs, right? Oh, I know that you know what I mean, right? I know that you know. If you're listening to me right now, not everybody gets that feeling, right? But yeah, just the idea of getting a bunch of rugs like this and just filling a spot with them, and it being your she shed, or as Naomi says, bitch barn, whatever you like, right? However you're feeling. But I really love this piece. I feel like I regret not getting this one also. I had it in my head that I'm trying to get rid of some pieces so that I'm never going to get all of the rugs I have on my walls, and that's a problem. And having them rolled up is making me sad. But yet I keep buying them. But I do kind of wish that I bought this one, because the coloring is really something. And some of the coloring might be a little bit of bleeding. It's hard to tell. Whatever it is, it really is beautiful. I regret it. I regret it right now. I love the purples. They're red purples, right? So that's different. So Cushing does a color called, is it red violet? I think it's red violet. That is this really red, berry red. It's a purple, but it has the red berry undertone, no blue, right? Like, it's purple because it has so much red. Yes, of course, there's blue in there, but it's way more toward red. And it goes so well with these little red flowers that have coral. Like, it's soft, soft, soft barn red with coral. And then like the olive green, bronze green colors. Oh my God. The colors were just beautiful in this rug. And these are not, it's not a super realistic rug, right? I didn't really like the border on it. It's kind of like a toll tray. But for me, this rug was about the colors. And it was paper thin. I didn't pick it up. I just touched the edge of it to see how bad it was. And it was just wet. Like, it was wet. Like, it was cold and clammy and damp, right? For sure. I should have gotten that rug. Anyway, I'm going to have to go in a minute because I have a Zoom thing at noon. But, and I have 2 more rugs to show you because I bought a couple other rugs in a store we haven't gotten to yet. But I really want to talk about this more because I want to make it very, very easy. If you would like to start picking up these rugs that are not necessarily like the best rugs, but they do represent our early 20th century history and sometimes late 19th century, depending on the rug you find. These rugs that are inexpensive have got to be taken off the floor, and there has to be an inexpensive um, and safe way to clean them up, just if they can be cleaned. And again, refer to earlier in this episode, and we'll talk more about this. But if they can be cleaned, if they're cute as a button, if they're still pretty, and they're on the floor and they cost $18, shame on me. I mean, I probably should have bought all of them. Money is always a thing with me. But I mean, I bought 3. There was lots more. I really couldn't have bought all of them. But I do want to come up with a cheap way where I can show you on cutting with a miter saw, right? Not cutting like with buying equipment, just cutting with a miter box, like the miter saw, cutting wood, figuring out how big it needs to be, how to put it together with like putting together safe frames for rug hookers with miter saw that comes with the box, right? That shouldn't be expensive. And wasn't when I bought one, but that was a long time ago. And a staple gun, right? Not expensive. And like, it doesn't even have to be like burlap. It could just be fabric, like any flat fabric from the quilt store. Like, I have to put this tutorial together so when you see rugs that are on the ground at a wet flea market, on the grass before the sun comes up, or in a store getting stepped on, and you think that is way too pretty to die this way after all this time, I really want to come up with like a definitive video, like this is how you do it. This is easy. This is kind of wood you get. This is how much it should cost. Of course, that changes a little bit. But if you save 1 or 2 rugs this year, if we all save 1 or 2 rugs this year, if 1/10 of us save 1 or 2 rugs this year, there's going to be a lot more rugs that are wall ready. And and you know what else that does? Well, I have 1 minute. You know what else that does? Stretcher bars would work, Judy. They would work great, but they are expensive, and you have to have the right size, roughly. But yes, they can, like stretcher bars, like an artist uses to stretch canvas. Yes. So let's talk more about that, because sometimes you find those at yard sales, or you find those on eBay or on Facebook Marketplace, and that works great too. Hello, Gayla. I'm just about to log off, but we had a fun time, and we will definitely be back on Friday. If I can get back to you sooner, I will. We'll see how the week unfolds. But let's talk about this a lot more, because you know what else it does to complete the sentence. When you put these rugs on a stretcher and they're up on the wall, people take them more seriously. And then every time they see a hooked rug, they take it more seriously because they regard it as art, right? We can help make that change. I gotta go. I don't want to be late for this. I'm organizing an Easter party for the kids this Sunday at the church, so I have to have this. I will see you all soon. Ruth, great to see you. I will be back with you definitely Friday, but if it's sooner, I will let you know. Have a great day.